Good evening, sweetheart. It's Maggie. Come sit with me. Let's make this night a gentler one. Tonight, the light in this room looks different. Not brighter. Brighter is noisy. Just softer. As if December brushed its fingertips along the walls and asked them to glow quietly for me. I turned the lamp on a little earlier than usual, around 4:23 p.m. Seattle winters don't negotiate with daylight. They take it away quickly, like someone borrowing a book and promising to return it tomorrow. Tomorrow rarely comes on time, but the dark always does. This lamp, the one on my left, has a warm halo tonight, more golden than usual, as if it decided to be generous after 3 evenings of holding back. I've always believed lights have moods, even though the electrician would absolutely disagree. The room is holding that glow, the way cupped hands hold a little warmth, carefully, gratefully, almost shy about it. I let the light fall across my knees and watch the way it touched the fabric of my old house robe, the soft gray one I wear when I want the day to stop expecting things from me. There's something about the first bit of warm light after a long blue afternoon that feels like a quiet apology from the season, as if December is saying, I know I get too dark. Here, let me make it up to you. I wish you could see how the shadows move in here tonight. They aren't sharp, not the kind that remind you of things you'd rather forget. They're rounded, slow, the kind that drift along the floor like thoughts you didn't know you were keeping. I leaned forward earlier to adjust the curtain, just a little, not much, and the light shifted across the room in this slow, graceful sweep that almost made me feel like the house was breathing with me. Funny thing, I caught my reflection in the window while I did it. Not sharply, just the faint outline the glass gives back at night. And for a moment, it looked like I was standing inside a memory I hadn't opened in a long time. Not sad, just familiar in the way old photographs are, the ones taken with film that always made everyone look softer than they actually were. Maybe that was the trick of film. It forgave us faster. There's a quietness in my chest tonight. Not emptiness. Emptiness has edges. This is smoother, like a small lake when the wind hasn't found it yet. Sometimes the light in this room settles right into that place, the the still part of me and stays there. I think that's why I wanted to sit with you tonight, because this softness feels like something I should share before the evening folds itself away. Earlier, when the day was fading, I brewed a fresh cup of chamomile and watched the steam rise in those long, unhurried ribbons. Steam always moves like someone remembering something slowly. It never rushes. It never hurries to decide what shape it wants to be. I realized as the light dimmed and the room changed color that I've begun to look forward to how December transforms the house. The wood grain on the table deepens. The books on the shelf look taller. The corners gather their own small secrets. And the lamp, well, tonight the lamp seems proud of itself. If a lamp could preen, I think it would look exactly like this one does now. There's a softness on the floor too, a thin carpet of light that settles around Lily as she sleeps at my feet. She stretched a moment ago, long and slow, the way dogs do when they've decided the world can continue without their supervision. I envy her ability to trust the room so completely. If she senses even a whisper of movement, her tail thumps once, not enough to disturb anything, just enough to say, I'm aware. The light lands on her fur tonight in a way that makes her look like warmth itself. Not the fierce kind, but the quiet kind that gathers in corners of old houses and waits to be noticed. I know this room so well. Every grain of wood, every shift in the floorboards, every small sound the walls make when they remember to speak. But on nights like this, the familiar becomes tender, the air becomes softer, and the light feels like a promise that the evening doesn't have to be heavy just because the world outside is dark. A promise that silence can sit beside you without asking you to fill it. A promise that even the smallest room can hold a warmth big enough for two people who need a gentle night. I don't know why, but tonight the room feels kinder just because you're here, even though you're listening from somewhere far. This light seems to recognize you, as if your presence softened it somehow. I moved my hand across the armrest just now, and the wood caught the glow in a way that made it look like it was remembering every winter we've sat here together. Even if this is our fourth evening, it feels like the room already knows your shape. Light does that. It learns people faster than memory does. And tonight, December is giving us just enough of it to hold this moment gently. The light in this room, it shifts so slowly, as if it's trying not to interrupt me while I'm thinking. A little earlier, I reached out and brushed my fingertips along the lampshade, just lightly, and the dust rose in a tiny ribbon, glimmering for a moment before it disappeared into the air. Not messy, not intrusive, just a reminder that gentle things can shine too, even if only for a second. At 63, I've learned to appreciate anything that sparkles without asking for applause. The December light outside the window has been quiet today. Not the bold kind of winter light that tries to wake up the whole neighborhood. No, this one is soft at the edges, like it's walking barefoot across the sky. I watched it earlier as it pressed itself very politely against the glass, not forcing its way in, just waiting. Light has good manners when it's cold out. It made the room feel like a small sanctuary, not untouched by time, but somehow protected by it. I set my cup down on the table, and the warmth left a faint ring of heat on the wood. Just a temporary circle, a small reminder that something warm had passed through. It occurred to me that people leave marks like that too. Quiet circles of warmth that don't last forever, but last long enough to change the room. When I leaned down to stroke Lily, she lifted her head with that sleepy, tolerant look dogs get when they're deciding whether waking up is worth it. She blinked twice, huffed through her nose, and rested her head right back down, as if to say, "You're safe. The lamp already told me." Animals understand light far better than we do. She does that sometimes, checks the lamp before she checks me. I won't take it personally. The room has taken on that late afternoon, early evening glow, a color somewhere between gold and memory. It settles into the corners first, the way a shy guest steps inside a doorway before joining the rest of the room. I've always found that moment beautiful, when the outside light and the inside lamp meet halfway. Two kinds of warmth, quietly agreeing on the same tone. There's a framed photo on the shelf to my right. Nothing dramatic, Just an old picture from 2008, half faded at the edges. I walked past it earlier, and the light caught the glass in this soft, forgiving angle. It made the whole memory look kinder, as if time traced it gently instead of carving it deeper. It's strange how the right kind of light can soften something you thought would always stay sharp. Sometimes I think that's what December is for. Not endings, not even beginnings, but softening, letting the year loosen its grip so your hands can rest a little. A blanket slid off my knee a moment ago. The house is cool today, and when I pulled it back up, the fabric carried that faint scent of lavender from last week's laundry. It's subtle, but enough to make the whole moment feel a little warmer than before. It always surprises me how scent holds memory more faithfully than thought does. Lavender makes me think of 1996 again. There was a small store on Rainier Avenue that sold handmade soaps, and I used to buy a tiny bar every December. Just one. Not because I needed it, but because it made the whole month smell like kindness. Earlier, when the sky brightened for a brief moment, I turned off the overhead light and let the room depend only on the lamp. It changed the air immediately. It made the space feel held, not illuminated. There's a difference, you know. Light can either reveal you or wrap around you. Tonight, it's doing the second one. I've always thought rooms remember the way you breathe. This one certainly does. It has seen me on quiet days, on heavy days, on days where the only thing I could manage was to sit here and let the lamp carry the weight I couldn't. And yet, every time December comes and the light turns soft again, the room greets me with the same gentle patience. I suppose that's one advantage of living alone at this age. Your furniture becomes very loyal. Not too loyal. I still have to dust it myself, but loyal enough. I felt a shift in the room just now. A quiet settling, like the light lowered its shoulders a little. It's the part of the evening where everything begins to slow into its final shape. And in this softened December glow, with the lamp warming the corner of my vision, and Lily breathing her small, confident breaths, I feel something familiar rise up inside me. Not joy, not quite, but that quiet cousin of joy who knocks softly and waits to see if you're ready to open the door. And I think tonight I might be. The room feels gentler now, as as if the light has finally found the exact place it wants to rest tonight. There's something about December evenings. They have this patient glow, a glow that waits for you to breathe before it speaks. I shifted my shawl a moment ago, and the threads caught the light in a way that reminded me of those old Christmas cards with glitter glued onto the snowbanks. Back then, the glitter always fell off and stayed on my hands for days. I suppose some memories have the same habit. They cling even when you think you've brushed them away. The cup in my hands has cooled a little. Not cold, just the kind of warmth that lingers politely, waiting for you to notice it's still here. I love that kind of warmth, the kind that doesn't rush, the kind that feels like it's aware of how delicate the evening has become. Outside, the rain softened again, not stopping. December rain in Seattle rarely stops, but thinning into a mist you can almost hear settling onto the world, a kind of whisper the night uses when it doesn't want to disturb you. The lamp beside me is casting shadows on the wall, long, thin ones, the kind that sway gently the way quiet thoughts sway. Sometimes I trace the edges of those shadows with my eyes, following them the way you follow a memory that doesn't hurt. And tonight, I've been thinking about something small, something simple, a moment from 2008, a morning when the electricity went out during a storm, and my husband lit 3 candles, even though he could barely see what he was doing. He held one up and said, "Maggie, look, ambience," as if he had invented the word. He was always good at turning inconvenience into ceremony. The light in this room now, it reminds me of that candlelight, not in brightness, but in intention. It's as though the lamp is trying to soften the edges of everything, even the parts of me that still hold small, quiet aches. A few minutes ago, I leaned down to adjust the pillow behind my back, and the cushion made that small, tired sound of old cotton settling. It made me smile. At 63, I find comfort in things that sound as worn as I feel. There's a shared honesty in it. The older I get, the more I appreciate the objects that don't pretend to be new. There it goes. That tiny flicker this lamp gives every so often. It always surprises me, like a shy blink from someone trying to stay awake. If lamps had personalities, this one would be a quiet friend who clears their throat before speaking. The December light tonight feels unusually intimate, not intrusive, not bright, just aware, aware of how gently the day needs to end, aware of the way my voice lowers at this hour, aware of how my thoughts begin to gather like small birds returning to the same branch. I've always admired that, how thoughts return to familiar roosts. Aware today, I walk to the window and let the cold air touch my fingertips. It startled me, the sharpness of it, but in a pleasant way, like someone waking you from a dream too soft to remember. And then I saw it, the afternoon light bending across the street, touching the wet pavement in these gentle ribbons. December light always bends differently. It doesn't shine, it rests. I carried that light with me all evening, not literally, but in the way a moment stays on your breath. The room now holds a deeper quiet, not emptiness, but fullness. A fullness made of the small things we often forget to count. The hum of the heater, the weight of Lily at my feet, the soft feel of wool around my shoulders, the faint crackle in the walls as they adjust to the cold. These are the things that make a room feel lived in. These are the things that turn a house into a story. And this evening, I've been thinking about how light behaves in quiet spaces, how it chooses certain corners, avoids others, lingers where your eyes naturally want to rest. I watched the way the lamp framed the edge of my bookshelf earlier, highlighting a single spine, a book from 1996 I haven't opened in years. Its cover is worn, the color faded, but I kept it, not for the story inside, but for the soft pencil note my husband made on the first page. Don't forget this part, Em. He underlined the word, forget. The light tonight made that little note glow, and for a moment, it felt like someone quietly insisting that certain things deserve to be remembered. I think that's what this December light is doing, remembering, not fully, not painfully, just enough. I love the way the lamp makes the shadows rounder near the floor. There's something safe about round shadows. They give the room a softness you can step into without thinking. And as the night deepens, I can feel the room settling again, like it's agreeing with me, like it's saying, yes, This is a good place to rest. My thoughts tonight have been slower than usual. Not heavy, just slow, the way a leaf floats rather than falls. And I'm letting them move at their own pace. December isn't a month for rushing. December is a month for soft pauses, small recognitions, gentle breath. I reached for my cup again, and the remaining warmth surprised me. Some things hold heat longer than you expect. People, too. I'm learning, slowly, that not everything we lose becomes cold. Some things keep their warmth long after they've changed their shape. The room has become a cradle of light now, soft, steady, uncomplicated, a little sanctuary, a little shelter from the edges of the day, a place where even shadows feel welcome. And I suppose that's what this evening is for, holding the light long enough for the heart to recognize it. The light has shifted again, not fading, just bending, the way a gentle thought moves from the corner of your mind to somewhere closer to your breath. I didn't expect it, this little change the room makes when evening grows deeper, as if December wants to reveal one more layer of softness before the night settles completely. The lamp on my left casts a warm ribbon across the floor, and the wood seems to hold it tenderly, the way old skin holds a touch it trusts. There's something about late evening light that feels seasoned, not old, just experienced enough to know how to sit quietly without disappearing. I leaned back a bit in my chair. Then I smiled, because that sound has followed me through so many winters that it feels like part of the ritual. At this point, I can't tell who's creaking more, the chair or me, but we've made peace with it. Lily has shifted again. She's closer to my slippers now, as if the light itself called her toward it. Animals always understand comfort long before we do. The glow on her fur is the color of warm bread pulled from an oven on a cold morning. A color you don't see, you feel it. There's a quietness in the room that isn't emptiness. It's presence, just not loud about it. I've been thinking softly about how this December light reminds me of an evening back in 2008. The power had flickered from a storm that rattled the whole neighborhood. Frank, long before he became Frank, who checks in too often, had knocked on my door with a flashlight that barely worked. He kept clicking it on and off, insisting it had character. I told him a flashlight shouldn't have character. It should have reliability. But he laughed like reliability was optional. It was the first time I realized how neighbors can become soft corners in your life without warning. Tonight's light feels like that evening. Not bright, not perfect, just enough. I reached to straighten the blanket on my lap, and my ring caught on its edge again. This ring loves attention. It tugs just enough to remind me of the man who placed it on my finger on a spring morning long gone, but still glowing in memory. Some stories never dim. They simply rest in the folds of the day until the right kind of light finds them. The warmth in the room feels different now. Not warmer, but closer. Almost like the light is leaning in, curious, listening to the way the house breathes. There, that sound. I used to worry it meant something needed fixing. Now I know it's just the house shifting its weight, the way a tired person adjusts a shoulder before settling deeper. The window glass has fogged slightly. I noticed it when I turned my head. The moisture gathers along the bottom edge, like a row of small, undecided thoughts. If you look closely, the streetlight outside stretches itself through the fog in long, softened lines, as if even the world beyond this room has chosen a quieter shape tonight. It always amazes me how light can tell a story just by touching a surface and then leaving quietly. A memory came to me in that softened glow, one I hadn't visited in years. A December evening in 1996, when I turned on the lamp in this same room for the very first time. The bulb flickered, struggling. It didn't want to commit. I remember whispering, "You and I will get along fine." And somehow we did. This lamp has outlived so many other things that were supposed to last longer. The air is warm enough now that I can feel the room loosening its shoulders. Even my own breath has settled into a quieter rhythm, like the light taught it how. There's a thing that happens when a room reaches just the right level of stillness. Thoughts begin to lower their voices. Old worries step back a little. The heart becomes less guarded, not exposed, just softened in the way worn fabric becomes tender to the touch. Tonight, the stillness feels earned. I brushed my fingertips along the side of the mug again. It's cooler now, the kind of temperature that tastes like a memory more than a drink. But even cooled tea holds a certain honesty. I suppose at this age, I'm becoming more like my tea. quiet, warm for a while, and then simply here. The December light spreads itself further across the floor, almost reaching the edge of Lily's tail. She hasn't noticed, or maybe she has, and that's why she hasn't moved. I love how animals surrender to comfort without asking permission from the day. This hour, this soft amber hour, feels like it's holding something I'm meant to lean into. Not a revelation, not a lesson, just a presence. Sometimes the light in a quiet room is enough company, enough conversation, enough truth. Before this evening ends, I want to sit with this glow just a little longer, to see how it folds itself into the corners of the night. There is a tenderness to it that makes the whole room feel as if it's breathing with me, soft, steady, and faithful. And I think December has finally found its shape in this room tonight. The light in the room has settled into that late evening gentleness now, the kind that looks almost thoughtful, as if it has been watching me move through the day and finally decided to lean a little closer. It's quieter than before, not just the room, something inside me too, a quiet that doesn't ask anything, just waits beside me, like an old friend who's learned the language of sitting still. Lily shifted again a moment ago, her paws stretching out as if she's trying to claim more of the rug than her tiny body justifies. I didn't have the heart to correct her. At my age, I admire anyone or anything with that much confidence. The December light has changed shapes all evening. First it was thin and pale, then golden, then rosy, in that way Seattle sometimes surprises you with, right before the day slips away. Now it's soft, a quiet, dim halo resting on the edges of the room. It's strange, isn't it, how light can feel like company. Not loud company, not the kind that needs conversation, just presence, a warm outline around what would otherwise be emptiness. I reached for the small wool blanket again, the one folded over the back of the chair, and it brushed my wrist in that familiar way that somehow always reminds me of winter evenings from years ago. I don't know why these textures call up whole seasons, but they do. Memory has a way of living in fabric. There was a moment earlier, maybe only a minute or two, when the light caught the the spine of an old book on the shelf and made it shimmer just enough to catch my eye. It made me think of something gentle, something from long ago, a December in 2008, I think, when I wrapped gifts on this very floor and laughed at myself because I'd forgotten to label any of them and had to open 3 just to figure out which was which. Even now, the memory makes my shoulders soften. It's comforting to know that some mistakes are harmless and even a little sweet when enough time passes. The room smells faintly of tea now, the kind of scent that settles low in the air, not insisting on being noticed, but staying close enough to remind me I'm not entirely alone in this quiet. The light from the lamp is pooling gently across the floor, slow and steady, like a calm thought that refuses to rush. Outside, the rain has softened into something closer to a whisper. It keeps tapping on the window in that small, steady rhythm that sounds almost like patience. Sometimes I think the night breathes with us, slowing when we slow, quieting when we settle, offering softness when we've finally grown tired enough to accept it. There's a comfort in this gentle dimness, in this December light that seems to know exactly where to sit and exactly how bright to be. It asks nothing, it stays. And tonight, that's more than enough. I leaned back just a moment ago, feeling the wood hold me the way an old friend memorizes your shape. It reminded me that even stillness can be a kind of kindness. And here, in this room, with the warmth gathered close and the quiet curled around the edges of the night, I feel something small and steady opening in me, the way a candle occasionally grows brighter with no clear reason. This day has been gentle in the ways that matter. Soft light, soft rain, soft breath. And now it settles into the kind of ending that feels like a page being placed down carefully in a book that isn't finished. Thank you for staying with me through this evening, for sharing the quiet and letting the December light rest on both of us just a little longer. Rest well tonight, sweetheart. Good night from me, Maggie.